evening and welcome into Live at Night Soccer Talk. There you see me finally. Good evening. Happy, I think this is a Saturday evening. I've actually lost track of the days, but I'm quite excited to be with all of you. And at my age, getting excited about anything is quite an accomplishment. I'm Alex Parra. It's always great to be with you. We appreciate all of you that have been following us. This, my friends, by the way, is day number 10 of the World Cup and day number 10 of our coverage of what we call Live at Night Soccer Talk. Maybe that's legalese so that we don't get in trouble. A lot to talk about today. Often at the beginning of the show, as I like to call it, we introduce our little friends here. We're showcasing all of the, most of, I should say, not all, going back to 1930 World Cup photo balls, I should say. This little guy here is Araiza, which is the official World Cup ball of Qatar 2022. And I'm going to ask one of our experts who's going to be on here shortly what that stands for, what in Arabic Araiza means. I think he knows. If not, he better look it up because he's that smart. Several people on with us today, one very special and then that other guy. So why don't we go to it so you can get an idea of who we're talking about. We appreciate all you that are following us via the X, via Facebook, as well as via YouTube. We bring them in, the entire family. And in the center square today, we have the one and only Katy Umaña. First of all, Katy, how are you? Happy Saturday evening. Thanks for joining us. What's going on in your life?
I'm doing well, just going to some games and taking some photos.
More than that, and we'll talk about your dedication.
And I was hoping and wishing for us to have a Houston team, and that happened in 2006 while I was in college. And I decided to do some reporting. I was a print journalism major at the time and decided to go to the games after as just a fan, but I kept taking photos, and I had friends who kept convincing me or trying to convince me to get press passes to do photography on the field. And, it took some convincing, and I finally was able to do that.
That's amazing. Well, where did you go to school, if you don't mind talking? And you're a Houston born and bred, aren't you?
And I went to University of Houston. So the Dynamo were playing at Robertson Stadium. They were right there on campus. So, had no excuse to escape from that, and went and did coverage for the Daily Cougar.
That's amazing. The Daily Cougar. What years were you there? Maybe you know my brother, Jerry. Jerry Parra was there. He's a little bit younger than me, and I don't know, but a lot of great journalists have come out of the Daily Cougar. Victor, you're also a Cougar, aren't you? And I mean that in a good way, not in a bad way.
Yeah, well, Daily Cougar alumni as well. And also, obviously, my segue into the Dynamo was also Robertson Stadium, so the good old days.
Victor, so we were all there, I guess, from the beginning. I still remember being field side in that very first match when Brian Ching scored, was it 3 goals versus Kansas City, the 5-3? Am I help me out here, Victor, on that.
You talk about that first game?
The very first game, the inaugural game for the
Yeah,
Dynamo.
where he had 4 against the Colorado Rapids.
Okay. See, maybe I wasn't there after all, because I don't even know who we were playing, but I do remember. But Ching got the hat trick.
It was a long time ago.
Ching got a hat trick, right? Do I have that right?
He got 4 goals.
Okay, so more than a hat trick. He scored a bunch of goals. Apparently. Don't get old, friends. That's what happens. That's one of the many issues. Katy, let's jump into and we'll talk a little bit, obviously, about the groups and the soccer
that thing
side.
Today.
that thing today that happened over at Houston Stadium. But we were watching some of the images from the lead up to it. Katy, you were in the midst of this at some point. We haven't seen something like this related to soccer, I don't think, ever in Houston. Is that right?
This is incredible. You know, I had an opportunity to witness this kind of atmosphere in Amsterdam in 2010 to see the Netherlands versus the US, but I have never seen this type of atmosphere outside of what you would see for the Astros or the Rockets after winning a championship. So seeing this for soccer was extra special, despite the humidity and the ruckus, but it was definitely worth going and seeing at Rice Stadium.
Victor, the walk, the march, the party started at Rice, and talk to us a little bit about this. This took a little bit of organization. I know you had a little bit of behind the scenes with some people that literally were talking about this many months ago, because it involved bringing in a special bus.
Yeah, this was like you just said, organized for a couple months now, and you know, really was the story of the day. I know the importance is on the field. It's the result. You know, in following the World Cup, everybody's going to focus on that. But here in Houston, the story of the day, if you look at the media outlets, if you go through social media, I mean, it was the march more so than the game. You had live coverage from many different local TV stations that were obviously going live on their digital outlets. And even not just the Netherlands, also Sweden had their own march, and it might not have been as viral, or it might have not have gotten the thousands and thousands of numbers, but I mean, it was still a pretty decent amount of people. There was journalists that covered both, and again, it just it shows you the passion of soccer in Houston, Texas, but also the magnetism that the sport draws. We talked about it. This World Cup was going to be an eye-opener for a lot of people, and I think they're starting to realize that the power of the sport. Very positive, very something that kind of spans over several culture points, not just the sport. I mean, I saw radio hosts, I saw just local personalities, people that maybe aren't living soccer day to day. Maybe they have a link to the sport, but overall they wanted to be a part of this because this was going to be the thing happening here. And I've seen different numbers. Some have said conservative, more than 15,000, 20,000.
Wow.
I've seen some that say as much as 30, almost 40,000. So yeah, I mean, you could fill a stadium with all the amount of people that showed up today.
You know, when you see the local outlets, be it Channel 11, 13, of course, Fox 26, Channel 2, flying the helicopter and giving you that helicopter shot, it's usually for like a car chase or something really awful, or some kind of protest, right? But for soccer related in a positive way, it is, Katy, something unique, something we don't normally see around here, and look at the crowds and look at the support for it. You didn't have to be even a Dutch fan to get into the Dutch spirit. Katy, that's something unique that we just haven't, related to soccer, ever lived here.
I think it was excellent to be able to see the amount of orange that we had. It's maybe you didn't have a Dutch jersey, but you had, or an Astros or Dynamo kit. So definitely something that, everyone could join in. And it was just amazing to see the amount of people that were just streaming in, despite the bus having already left the stadium, just the amount of people that were following.
And you talk about inclusion. That word gets batted around a lot, friends, and I don't want to use that segue to be controversial. But what could have been, Victor Araiza, more inclusive than this? It didn't matter where you came from. It didn't matter who you might even be rooting for. What a way to be brought together by the soccer ball. I'll show it in this shot, this little soccer ball. What a way to be brought together by our sport. This doesn't happen for the Astros. Maybe there's celebrations like this. If there's a championship, that's one, Victor. But this is so unique. And you know what I'm going to ask you? How can we bottle this up? How can we replicate this for soccer?
Well, I mean, I think I'll just start by saying, I truly believe soccer is the most inclusive sport there is, because it's worldwide.
Yeah.
Its popularity, and again, it spans over cultures, it spans over nations, it spans over every walk of life. So, in this country, for some reason, we find ways to put boundaries on that inclusivity in the sport. I'm not going to get into every little thing and all the politics that we live. But I think that's what it is. It's again, in its pureness, soccer is the most exclusive sport in the world.
Sure.
The other sports, I don't think compare. The NFL, baseball, basketball, because they don't have the same reach worldwide. I'm talking about, and we just haven't tapped into it to the fullest in this country. And I think that's why we're looking so much to this World Cup, because again, I mentioned eye opener. It was going to showcase the power of the sport, what it means worldwide, the impact. And I think we're living and breathing it. And again, we're waiting to see what's going to be the after effect, once the World Cup is over in a couple of weeks. But I think we're also trying to live in the moment and enjoy it while it's still here.
I love that perspective about enjoying the moment. And I think this was part of it. And I think it's captured all of our imaginations. And even the cynical, old school people like myself, Victor, I was physically present, not there. I almost wish, even on this very humid morning, to be in part of that, the energy of that. And in a way, the way our sport, and it's everyone's sport, the sport of soccer, football, calcio, has been elevated, and it's gone more mainstream. And Katy, I know we talk here on Soccer Talk live at night about how to bottle this up and how this could hopefully continue once the World Cup and the 7 days are gone from Houston Stadium. But what are your thoughts about how can this maybe plant a seed, Katy, for the future? And we can talk about these kind of moments related to Houston teams or US MLS or NWSL teams. Is that possible?
I think it is. I think we're saying there's been a progression in this sport since the 90s. And even though the changes that I've seen myself in MLS in the last 10, 15 years, it's night and day, I feel like, from the days of Robertson Stadium. So I think there's an opportunity here with the World Cup, taking this forward and being able to share this kind of enthusiasm at the Dynamo and Dash games.
Absolutely. So that's what was going on, friends, outside the stadium. If you've been living under a rock, or maybe you're just now getting around to finding out about this. So that what was happening outside the stadium. Katy, take us inside the stadium. We have several shots. You also, and we'll start looking at your game coverage. But inside the stadium, what was it? 9-1, 10-1, orange versus any Swedish blue or white or yellow?
There were a couple of sections that were yellow and blue, but the majority was the orange that you saw on TV. And I think being able to witness, these countries represented in front of our eyes, it's been a joy to see here in Houston.
Absolutely, it was. So why don't we start looking at, again, this is, by the way, all of Katy's work as we talk over this. But Katy, talk to us about today's match and the setup. You're down on the field. What is the sense of what you're hearing, what you're feeling as the stadium starts filling up before the whistle to start the match?
So the last couple of matches, I've noticed that there's been some chanting, usually for a certain player, or, just the vibes of the energy from the stadium. But today, being able to hear Links Rex was something that, really energized the stadium. Swedish fans had their own chants as well, but I definitely noticed a difference between this game and the last two here in Houston Stadium. There was definitely a lot more energy around, like, the photographers getting ready for us to go take pictures of the team photos. But certainly it was really exciting to witness this today.
And Victor, you were there as well in the press side of it. Talk to us a little bit about this game in particular. Did it have a little, maybe the word isn't little, was there more energy that you could sense now that we're into the third match, or they've all equally had that level of energy?
I think each one has been different. Not to say one has been better than the other. I just think it's, as Katy was mentioning, there's probably different significance to each game, right? I think the first game, Germany Curaçao, was a bit of a mix, right? I don't think we saw as big of a German presence as we saw, for example, in Germany's game today over in Toronto, and that's probably because Toronto is closer to Germany, and maybe here, it was also the first World Cup game in Houston. I think there was a bit of locals that kind of made it a case to go out to that game. Curaçao had a huge contingency or a huge, traveling support that was obviously chartered in. So that had a different kind of mix of fans, right? Portugal, obviously that game was big time Cristiano Ronaldo. There was a bunch of 7 jerseys in the stands. So it wasn't necessarily all Portugal fans, even though it was almost 100% Portugal jerseys, right? Again, a lot of people that, here in the United States wanted to make it a case to go out and see a legend in person in what is probably his final World Cup. You got the sense that it was more of the Ronaldo show than it was, watching Portugal in that match. This one seemed more like it was two nations facing off in a World Cup match, even though it was more, a higher percentage of Netherlands fans. But you got a sense, and we knew also competitively this was going to be the more even game, even though the scoreline doesn't show it. But I think even if you ask, any journalist, anybody watching the game, as far as a back and forth, as far as a competitive jest, it did sort of live up to that. It just got a little skewed there on the scoreline later on, and Sweden wasn't able to keep up. But it did provide a spectacle on the field, and again, these 3 games have been spectacular for Houston. The fans that have gone out, at least between this one and the first game, got a bunch of goals. Obviously, the Portugal game was 1-1, but again, that one was special for a different occasion for the people that were there. And Cristiano Ronaldo's and Portugal will participate in another game here this coming week. So again, when we evaluate the luck of the draw, I think we're going to go back and say, yeah, Houston got a pretty good batch of games. A
lot of goals so far, as you've mentioned, Victor. Katy, which game has been loudest? You've been at all 3 so far. Which one was louder, in your opinion?
I think it's hard to tell. Like, one of the things that I've noticed,
I know you're focused on your job, by the way, so it's different covering than being a fan. We wear different hats in that moment. So forgive me for interrupting you.
No problem. What I've noticed, though, is my Apple Watch will go off a loud environment. It was going off constantly today compared to the other games. But like each game brings something different, like Victor said. And I think, it's just we're going to start seeing more of these. I think the atmosphere will be louder and louder as the knockout rounds continue.
Progress. Victor, let's talk a little bit about the group then. Group F, clearly after the victory today and picking up the 3 points, Netherlands in the driver's seat. We're waiting and we're monitoring the late game tonight, Tunisia versus Japan. I think that's in Monterrey, if I'm not mistaken. 11 o'clock start, right? Central time? That I know it's a weekend, so
well,
maybe
it'll be 10 over there.
10 over there. So there you have it. But how do you see this group? I look, to me, Japan can pick up 3 points today, and they're tied for that. Technically on goal differential, we'll have to see how that plays out. But could 3 teams come out of this group as well?
I think they will, and I think everybody's probably thinking that. Let's recall, though, for this World Cup, it's worded a little weird, so it doesn't seem that way, but head-to-head is the first tiebreaker. So these games between nations are pivotal in that sense. That last game between Japan and Sweden up in Dallas is probably going to decide who goes. Well, I think it will decide who goes second and who goes third.
Yeah.
You would think the Netherlands are probably going to take care of that game against Tunisia. And what does that mean? The team that finishes second is going to come back for the round of 32, if I have that correct, and I can verify that, to face the winner of Brazil, Morocco, or Scotland in that group. So we could see Sweden come back. We could see Japan coming here, and that's kind of what the implications are in this game coming up tonight, and then obviously in that final match day where all the games really will be simultaneous because, there's a lot to play for as far as the last spurts to the knockout stage.
If you're just joining us, thanks, friends, for being with us. We're on live a little after 10:30 on this Saturday, already the 20th of June, the 10th day of this World Cup. I'm Alex Parra. You see here in the Brady Bunch squares, you see Katy. Katy's over this way. There she is. And below, where he belongs, is Victor Araiza. Katy, we're looking at the groups. Any surprises? Any groups that interest you more than others? I mean, there's so much here. When we get to Group K and L, we're all finding things that are interesting. But what jumps out at you on maybe some things we're watching, we're seeing already?
So the draws that we've seen in Group G and Group H were surprising to me. Yeah. I think that's something that, we weren't anticipating. We were expecting Spain to perform better than they did against, I believe it was, Cabo Verde?
Cabo Verde, right.
Cabo Verde.
Yeah. And
is it Cape Verde or Cabo Verde? Can we use both, guys? We can use both, right? They're not going to sue us.
You can use both, yeah.
We can use both. Katy, again, I interrupted you. Just get used to it and just keep talking.
Yep. And, it is a little surprising to me to see the host nations all winning their groups and advancing. Was kind of anticipating maybe different results for a couple of the countries. I won't say who. But
you can say it. You can say it. It's okay.
But it's
Canada.
It's
but 6-0.
Yeah. So friends, if you have any thoughts, find us on social media. Please send us your comments, your questions. Victor, let's jump a little bit into one of the other matches we had today. Speaking of teams that did well in Game 1, Germany literally in stoppage time pulling out the victory. Was this surprising to you in any way? Did the German team come back down to earth? Or was this kind of expected? Ivory Coast, not a pushover.
No, not a pushover at all. I think maybe the way that it kind of went down to the wire for Germany, I don't think the result is the surprise. It's just how long it took them to get on the board. So, but look, ultimately, Germany shows its quality, gets the 3 points, and gets that knockout or that round of 32 place. So now there's 3 teams that are confirmed. The U.S. and Mexico are the 2 others. And again, doesn't put themselves in a predicament. As we see there was a draw between Ecuador and Curacao. So, again, this is a more competitive group than, at least for the bottom spots, right? I think we all kind of figured Germany was going to be the favorite there.
Yeah, Germany goes into the favorite. Curacao, Katy picking up their very first point in the World Cup. I know they won't be going on to the round of 32. Katy is a point.
We don't know that. We don't know that.
Okay. Everything's possible. Anything's possible. I can imagine for a small country, for a country who's debuting in the World Cup, Katy, this must mean a lot. And Ecuador must be really, by the way, Ecuador dominating. What was the goalkeeper had 15 saves, if I'm not mistaken, Katy.
Yeah, Eloy Room.
The veteran. I mean, disappointment for Ecuador is what I'm trying to say, Katy, and certainly optimism, hope, maybe dreaming for Curacao.
I think, we're seeing, these, for me, I love an underdog story, and being able to see these these countries that are debuting in the World Cup make names for themselves for the goalkeepers has been a pleasant surprise.
A pleasant surprise that we hopefully want to see more of. Let's get into a little bit about tomorrow, and then I want to revisit a couple of things. Katy, you mentioned Spain. Victor, is Spain under more pressure than ever to not only win, pick up 3 points if they can versus Saudi Arabia, but if they don't, is this one of those big countries that could potentially fall early or certainly be disappointed? Countries like Spain, countries like Germany, like the Netherlands, like Argentina, they are expected to, and not just pick up points and win like Germany did today, barely. They're supposed to keep rolling and score 3 or 4 or 5 and give their fans and their countries that assurance that we're back. Is Spain under pressure tomorrow?
I think they are, but not more so than they would be to win, right? Now, if they don't live up to it again, then I think, that's going to be a big cause for concern, because I think one time you can call it a fluke, twice now there's a big issue there, right? If they can't get the 3 points. And even then, let's remember the format of this World Cup allows you a little bit more leeway where you don't got to be one of the top 2 teams. So they can still, in theory, depending on how the results line up, still make it as a 3rd place. Now, if they basically fall out, then it's going to be an issue. But let's remember, we always kind of knew that game against Uruguay was always going to be pivotal for both of these nations. Absolutely. And it's going to have a big significance. We would assume that both of those are going to go through, but if obviously things get complicated, it's going to mean more for one side over the other. But I think, Spain shouldn't have any trouble this time around. You think with a couple of days to prepare, and especially to respond to that Cape Verde result, they have to be coming out tomorrow with a different personality, with a different attitude, and almost with a relentless demeanor to put up as many goals from the get-go.
All business in many ways. And the culmination might be, Katy, in Houston, Cabo Verde versus Saudi Arabia, which for many initially was the least attractive, the least sexy game taking place here in Houston. That may have a little bit more excitement, intrigue, and I'm seeing that the tickets may not be available anymore as easy as they were to find 2 weeks ago.
Yep. I experienced this myself with, I had a friend who was offering me tickets to the game, not knowing that I was actually going to be covering the game. And, those same tickets probably would have sold for a lot more now based on the performance that we've seen.
Absolutely. So we'll see what relative to that. What else jumps out at you tomorrow, Katy? What are you looking for? I think many of us are looking at that Spain game, Uruguay as well. But does anything jump out at you about tomorrow's, what is that, Father's Day, Sunday action?
Well, I'll be on the road going to Dallas, so I'm not going to be able to see some of these games, but I'm hoping to hear.
How dare you? You better find a way to keep up, Katy. Come on.
I'll have it on the car while I'm driving up to Dallas.
Please be safe. Talk to us about that, and I'd like to go back if we can to see a little bit about let's see if I get this right, some of Katy's work. Katy, as you prepare for a match, and by the way, if you're just joining us, Katy Umaña with us, not only a guest this evening, but part of our team in covering the World Cup with video, with photography. There's a lot of preparation, Katy, that goes into this, right? It's not just, hey, let's show up and start shooting. It means taking care of your equipment, preparing storage, right, on your devices, knowing where and how you're going to download them. As I mentioned earlier, there are young people that are watching now and maybe want to dream one day of being in your shoes. Talk to us about what it's like to be a photographer. And it's not just showing up and snapping. You have to have an eye for it and preparation and discipline. It's an art form.
It is an art form, and I think part of being a professional photographer is being prepared. So being prepared means being having done research, having been able to have an understanding of who are the players to watch, not only and then capturing what you see. It's an art form, and being able to be prepared for any instance means carrying a lot of equipment. So it's great exercise, and also being able to just have a good time while you're working. It is work. It can be a lot of hard work, but it could also be very rewarding.
Katy, I asked you earlier about, hey, what game is louder? I've attempted to shoot video, to be a photographer. I end up back here for some reason, but it's really a lot of concentration. You cannot take a moment off because you don't know what may happen, right? And when you're actually and actively shooting, talk to us about the concentration factor. That no matter what's going on around you, you've got to know when to focus. You've got to know which lens to have ready. Almost anticipating the play, knowing the game certainly helps you, doesn't it?
It does really help you. Part of what I've been doing this year is mentoring young sports photographers and kind of teaching them just how to anticipate. One of the things that I notice is that they feel a lot of pressure to make sure that they capture their goal. That is part of it, but you also need to be able to capture other moments and capture emotion, do storytelling. There's a lot that goes into this, and it's just really important to be prepared and just keep practicing.
Victor, she's pretty good, isn't she? We can talk about her like she's not here.
There you go.
You're supposed to agree with me. No, you're supposed to agree with me. Yes,
I was agreeing.
Okay, there you go. I guess that's what the kids say these days. Victor, when you're at the stadium from the media point of view and going through security and also preparing, what are you sensing? Every match so far has been different relative to the attendance from journalists because of the different teams. So more international than local. I think that's what we've talked about the last couple of days. But how are you seeing your fellow journalists when they arrive at the stadium? And is there a good conversation between all of you? Do you hear all kinds of languages? Take us inside that media side.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really discuss a lot of the inner talk because it has to do with you. But we'll.
It's all right. Let it all out. Let it all out, Victor. Let it all out.
I don't want to rat anybody out about how great it is to
not have not have me there.
Yeah.
Today
No,
today's something special, right? You actually had food.
Yeah. We'll get to, I think I believe there was probably some more international media. Obviously, some of these teams bring their own traveling followers, right? From but I think we are seeing a mix of of the locals coming in. I think the organization was probably a little iffy at the beginning, with selling some quirks. One of them, like you said, was the food. And not in all the markets. I think Atlanta was one of those where they took care of their press. They had a kind of a free buffet. In Houston, took us about 2 games, I think, up until Houston First got a hold of the news, and I guess they covered from what I hear.
The expense.
So yeah, sometimes you don't wonder how these things work, but then it is kind of. I mean, I feel a little bad for the German media and in Curacao who traveled and kind of had to pay $10 for a sandwich or whatever it was. Whereas now, I mean, today, I think the media from the Netherlands, from Sweden, let's just say they got a nice cut of brisket, among other
Oof.
things in that buffet.
You're making me hungry. Katy, we're spoiled when we cover sports at
I can see
stadiums.
that. Photographers don't get the same treatment.
Oh, really? Okay, never mind then. We won't bring you into this conversation. You're used to starving then. Part of the perks for some of us is having that pregame meal or having something available. It's part of keeping the media happy. Maybe my question to you, Katy, won't be about the food, but will be about the international. Your fellow photographers that are there. Are you exchanging pleasantries with?
How
with
hungry
people?
are they during the game?
How hungry are they? Are you exchanging pleasantries with them about any of this?
Well, I'm actually having a great time getting to meet photographers from across around the world. Met some photographers from here in the U.S., Mexico City, from Guatemala, someone from London today. Haven't had a chance to really connect with some of the foreign press, foreign photographers, but looking forward to doing that more and more. And, I had a very interesting dialogue with a broadcaster that I saw right before getting onto the field. At the moment, I didn't recognize who he was. It ended up being Owen Hargreaves, and it was a really nice conversation.
That's amazing. You get to meet so many people and everybody kind of focusing on their job for the day. There's so many people behind the scenes, Victor, that make this happen. One of our friends, Nick Vasquez, is there helping out on the Telemundo side. A lot of people we know, camera people, support staff, audio, video, they're everywhere. Is it going well, Victor? Maybe that's the way to close. So far, from the walk this morning, which was, again, something unique for Houston, to the results on the field, we're getting goals in Houston. So far, Victor, I don't think it could go any better. And I certainly don't want to jinx it, but it's going really well so far, Victor.
I believe so. I mean, I probably don't have much to add on that other than to agree with you. Yeah, I think it has been going really well. Even the march today, right? It wasn't impromptu. It was planned, months ahead of time. But even I think today, people were surprised or pleasantly surprised, I should say. Maybe the amount of police or firefighters, just to kind of as a precaution to lend help. I believe there was maybe about, from all those thousands of people, about maybe 11 I saw reported that might have been dehydrated, got some help, but nothing, I think too major other than obviously normal repercussions from the Houston heat. We saw some images also along the way. People that lived along the path to giving out waters, kind of extending support. Houston steps it up in these events, and I think all we need to do is kind of have some of these and win them over, right? Again, this is where we need the leadership in town to sort of go out and obtain some of these events, but. I think the organization is probably no surprise. We've seen it even get better each passing game, streamlined, and once again, just kind of showcases Houston today. Again, we probably didn't know this up until the draw when we started getting some games, and people start circling on the calendar. Right, well, here's where the Netherlands is going, and here's where there will be a march, right? But today, Houston was in the eyes of the world. Because of this march, that again goes viral on social media, gets shared. Houston gets mentioned, and it was a longer trek than the Dallas one because the Dallas one was just down the road. The baseball stadium. This one was a bit of a longer march, and again, drew bigger numbers, and Houston's getting talked about in maybe a different way that nobody expected because people were just probably focused on the games.
And as far as I know, Katy, no reports, and we're watching a little bit of the bus and all of the security, and and the first responders that were around. Maybe they ran out of beer and that's how they were hydrating. But that's the only negative that I heard. I didn't hear about arrests. I didn't hear about people turning over vehicles like happens in celebrations after somebody wins a championship. Katy, your thoughts on how this is going so far? And in particular today, I think it's going to be a memorable day for our sport in not only what happened inside Houston Stadium, but certainly what happened outside with the Dutch fans.
I'm loving the support and the atmosphere, whatever is being said about Houston in a positive way. As a native Houstonian, being able to see the love that I have for this city go globally and go beyond what we usually hear. Houston, we have a problem. No, we don't. I think we're noticing that we're capable of being a global soccer city.
Absolutely. I could not have summed it up any better. Victor, as we get ready for tomorrow and continuing coverage, and we'll end with Katy. I know she's headed up to Dallas, but what's your focus going into Sunday? We still have one match this evening. We'll probably wrap up before the last match of the evening, which is Tunisia and Japan. But what are you looking forward to, Victor, in the next couple of days? And also, there's still matches in Houston yet to come.
Yeah, I think obviously that group with Spain and Uruguay, just to, for several reasons, obviously those are probably two of the teams you would expect to be contenders, and you expect them to come out tomorrow and, try to make each one their case for the top of the group, setting up a juicy matchup on the final match day. Obviously, personally, like we've said, looking at some of these games in Houston and that being probably the most affordable ticket, that Cabo Verde Saudi Arabia game, hopefully some big wins by Spain and Uruguay can level the prices down back to what they were a couple of days ago before Cabo Verde had that momentous moment against Spain.
In general, Victor, how do you see the coverage? We didn't get too much into it with Katy this evening, but coverage still good. I'm seeing, and I want to bring this up maybe tomorrow, Victor, Alexi Lalas getting beat up everywhere. Is that crossing a line about people taking shots at him? I saw some videos about him. Apparently he was a singer or had records or albums or songs, and I mean he is getting blasted.
Yeah, he plays the guitar.
Okay, maybe
not.
No,
look, it's no different than
yeah.
what. I think it is for a game, because when you get into this business, that's part of it. If you don't have a thick skin, then don't
get into
don't be a personality, right?
Yeah.
And I think again, we see this normally for any of Fox's soccer coverage, MLS, CONCACAF competitions like the Gold Cup, but this shows you once again the impact multiplied, maybe tenfold, maybe 100-fold, of the audience that's there for a World Cup.
Yeah.
And again, it's just, Lawless is just being Lawless. But now more people are watching, more people are noticing, more people are talking. So it comes with the territory. And again, and also when you get different personalities like a Zlatan or a Thierry Henry,
be ready.
Guys that were great players in their own right, but also personalities that are a bit stronger than what Lawless probably usually has on that desk at Fox. And listen, at the end, it all makes for great television. There's people watching, there's people following on social media.
And we're talking about
it depends on what Fox wants. And I think Fox loves the social media reaction, whether it's positive or negative. So that's the route they're taking. And I'm sure as long as it's generating numbers for them, that's all they care about.
Katy, let's talk about the media quickly before we wrap up. And obviously we were talking about the coverage on Fox in English in the United States. We'll talk about Telemundo in a couple of days more. I've heard and seen some things interesting there. But how do you see the media coverage in general? I know locally, and we talked about the Orange March, the fan walk this morning. The soccer and the sport are getting the coverage. But let me dig deep a little bit. And as an old guy, social media has really taken over. Victor and I talk about these personalities that have millions of followers. I'm not sure what they do, but when they show up, it's like watching a rock star and I think there was an exchange, and you're gonna have to help me figure out the personality's name, who met with the mayor of Houston, and it was awkward. Okay, tell me all about this, and that has more reach than maybe the local coverage or even the match itself. Is that turned upside down, Katy? Your thoughts on that one, please.
We're seeing this change with the World Cup this year. You're seeing influencers and content creators getting space just as traditional media. I think it's been kind of eye-opening for some people that are used to seeing more of the old school view of things. But it's just, I think, a matter of being able to capture new audiences and being able to reach them where they're at, and that's through social media.
And do you see that as a good thing, Katy, or not? And look, I'm old school in the sense of, you have an outlet, you're able to show your reach, you're able to be objective and be journalistic. This is pure entertainment now. There's no checks and balances about whether you even have good or bad information. This is my opinion. And it's gone viral, which also makes me, or my last question is, the intellectual property. I think it's something FIFA has protected a lot. But what happens when you work hard, you get a beautiful shot, and everyone on the internet, everyone on social media grabs it and runs with it? It might be flattering, but is there a line there, Katy, which is, wait, we worked hard for this. This should be protected in some way. Am I being too old school?
I don't think so. I think it's just the nature of technology and the changes that you see. Whenever there's something new that comes out, it will constantly kind of challenge and question what you've been used to, and that's just, I think, the nature of what we're seeing. It's a new generation, it's new content, and it's a new way of sharing that. I think you're still reaching an audience, and it's just a matter of, it's a new form of doing that, and it's something that whether we like it or not, we'll have to get used to.
And forgive me for interrupting you, Katy, and I apologize for that. Victor, we do have to get used to this. And is FIFA policing this? Are they shutting places down that are just? I'm seeing replays of goals, Victor, on social media, but not coming out to the rights holders' outlets. How do they get away with that? That it's just impossible to control.
Yeah, look, I think it depends on, I guess, what school you want to follow, or I mean, I don't know if the FIFA rules necessarily restrict, because again, you're kind of reporting on the game, and as long as you're reporting on the game, I mean, I think it could just kind of a bit of a, I don't want to say leeway, but
sure,
there's an ability to report, so much as you're not broadcasting the entire thing, going live. And so I think actually I kind of feel it's been, and I'm saying this because nobody's really told us anything as far as, sharing some of these moments, but I almost think it's a little surprisingly less
restrictive.
Yeah, less restrictive than kind of what, because I thought MLS was a little bit more open, certainly than other soccer leagues. When it comes to sharing content and doing, but I mean, I think even maybe just the way things have changed the last couple of years, where some of these communication staff have tried to be more restrictive, right, with our coverage. But I think it's refreshing to see FIFA kind of letting people, reporters in the stadium, sort of have that flexibility to report a little bit more further than maybe traditionally we would get that in some of these leagues. And that's what you would expect from the top of the chain in this sport.
And I'm also seeing, Katy, fans shooting video, posting it. You're not going to take people's phones away, I don't believe, going into these events. So maybe FIFA is getting the right idea about how this increases. Well, we've got to go, friends. And by the way, we're almost an hour in, and it's flown by. Victor, I'll give you the last word as we wrap up, and the last word will come from Katy. But Victor, again, we talked about what you're looking forward to, but so far so good. Still a long way to go in this marathon, but I'll let you kind of close out your thoughts.
Yeah, enjoyed because these 4 games a day, and I mean in 4 different time slots, because we're about to hit simultaneous games are kind of going away. So usually once that starts to happen, now we're starting to feel the end stretch, and then the knockout games will start, which I think, again, the expanded format allows us to kind of have the action every day a little bit longer than usual. But again, I think this has been a phenomenal World Cup, more so than what people initially thought it would be. And obviously that's going to inch us closer to the end of the tournament.
Absolutely. Katy, your final thoughts for this evening, please.
No, this has just been, I think, a great first 10 days. We're looking at, more to come. And I think it's just going to get more and more exciting from here.
More and more exciting. Well, friends, we appreciate you spending time with us this evening. We know it's late. The last match, by the way, of the evening is just about to kick off. Tunisia versus Japan in Monterrey. And obviously for you that still have some energy, keep it going. Why not one more match? We will miss this in about 2 weeks, having the 4 matches and always having to focus. But like anything else, too much of a good thing maybe can be a little bit too much. So on behalf of our production staff, on behalf of Victor, on behalf of Katy, I'm Alex. Thanks, friends, for being a part of our evening. Our commitment is to continue doing this nightly. Please write to us. Please send us your comments and be a part of what we're putting together. So everybody have a great evening. Please take care of yourselves. Be safe on your weekend, and we'll see you tomorrow. Good night. Alex isn't much of a Cristiano Ronaldo fan, so